Hello Soul Tribe, hello Soul Family. Welcome to this channel where we heal and integrate because consciousness is the new frontier. We are healing, removing distorted perceptions from our psyche. We are integrating, remembering the truth of who we are. And who we are is the divine human spirit. We are the divine human spirit, connected to life, connected to God, connected to each other, connected to all that is. All right, consciousness is the new frontier because we have discovered everything else that there is to discover except the one thing that counts the most, which is ourselves. And who are we? We are the divine human spirit. We are the divine human spirit connected to God. In Him we live and move and have our being. This is the one fundamental truth that we have forgotten as humanity. And so this channel is literally dedicated to us remembering all of these wonderful things that we may have forgotten about ourselves. Today is a very interesting topic because we are literally asking the question, what happened to humanity? What happened to our world? All right. And, you know, it's that time of the year, of course, when there are just a whole lot of, holiday festivities that are beginning to take place because it's literally almost December, right? And so we'll be getting a whole lot of death toll reports, because it's that time of the year when people are taking a whole lot of trips and unfortunately, many people also are losing their lives around this time of the year. And of course, there'll be a whole lot of programs on TV that are examining and exploring all sorts of things to this effect. Some of them will be looking into whether Jesus Christ is real or not. They'll be looking into the validity of Christmas and the whole festivities around it and consumerism and a whole lot of things like that. And then other people will be literally just doing documentaries about a whole lot of other things that may or may not include aliens and so on. So this is the time of the year when, even when you look into the TV, there are a lot of weird things that are sort of like being discussed as well, over and above everything else that's happening around us from a spiritual perspective, So I'm also, doing my own thing now. I'm doing this recording so that we can explore one of those weird topics that are often explored around this time of the year. And so that topic for us today will be what happened to humanity? What happened to our world? Just a few minutes ago, I was speaking to an anonymous client of mine, of course, and they were just explaining to me how that they noticed that majority of humanity right now is operating at a certain vibrational frequency, is approaching life from a certain perspective. And it's almost as if, when you are that person that sort of wants to do the right thing, you are literally a minority in the situation. You are alone. You are the only one that sees things the way that you see them, and you almost always end up being the odd one out. You almost always end up as if there's something perhaps wrong with you. And that speaks volumes to the reality of this world that we are living in. Clearly there's something significantly wrong there, something fundamentally wrong. How is it possible that we can literally be existing in a world where people who are actually, good people are the minority? You've got this phenomenon of empaths, which is what people like myself will, of course, be labeled as. Empaths are considered to be a minority amongst human beings. That's very strange. Because what is an empath? It's someone that is keenly aware of their connection with everyone else. That's what it is. That's what it means to be an empath. An empath literally feels another person's energy as if that person is themselves. An empath is someone that is still very much connected to the intrinsic oneness that we all share as human beings. So if empaths are a minority, what does that say about us human beings? What state of consciousness are we then operating at? You know, if people who are able to feel other people's pain, for example, are a minority, what does that say about humanity? What does that say about us? It does not necessarily paint a good picture about humanity at all. Let's explore that. So let's explore what a human being is to start off with. So a human being is a multidimensional being, very cosmic in nature. We are cosmic in our nature. We are a bioorganic computer. Really, that's what we are. You know, our bodies are a bioorganic computer. So by the way, multidimensional being means we exist, you know, in other dimensions beyond the 3 dimensions. You know, we've got the first 3 dimensions that we are participating in: the animal, mineral, and the human kingdom. And then the plant, the mineral, plant, and animal kingdom that we are participating in. But that's not all there is to us. We are also 4th dimensional, 5th dimensional, and a few other dimensions, or a whole lot of other dimensions above that. So we are multidimensional in nature. The only challenge that we've been dealing with, of course, is that we've been existing in a distorted version of reality, which is what I'm about to unpack now, that has made it impossible for us to really see the truth of who we are. It's like we are literally seeing only a small percentage of what we really are. Majority of human beings right now in this world, and I mean, even I myself, with the little bit that I've come across so far, I know that I've not even begun to scratch the surface. I mean, it's like I have not even covered the 1% of what I still need to cover with regards to true reality. And the reason why, you know, we have been so diminished, you know, as beings, is because we have been cut off from the truth of who we are. That's the, you know, basis of it. We've been cut off from the truth of who we are. We have forgotten who we are, and we are only seeing ourselves, you know, from a 3-dimensional perspective. We are seeing ourselves only as the mind, and we only see our capabilities and all of that based on what the mind can do. And half the time, that's very limited. I mean, even the greatest and grandest thing that the mind can ever do still does not come close to what the spirit can do. And that spirit aspect of ourselves is the one that we've been cut off from. Many of us, even if we are in spiritual circles or religious circles, and, you know, we believe that we are spirits, at the time it's something that we don't really fully subscribe to. It's like we just say it as a matter of convenience, but it's not really something that we really adhere to. Like, we don't approach life from a perspective that we are spirit beings. We rather have been approaching life from a perspective that we are only the mind and the body. That's what has happened to humanity, right? But in true essence, we are multidimensional beings. Spirit is so multidimensional, it's not even funny, because understand this: for spirit, there is no time. Spirit exists beyond time and space. That's that multidimensionality aspect of it. And then also spirit exists, you know, in a whole lot of other, for example, our spirits and our souls right now are existing in many other dimensions that we may not even be aware of. We are living many lives all at the same time. The future, the past, and everything else is all happening right here, right now. That's the multidimensional aspect of things. And then we are, you know, our bodies are a bioorganic computer, and it stores data. It stores information, you know, in our DNA. And not only does it store, you know, information, but I mean, this bioorganic computer is capable of a whole lot of things. It firstly, it runs a whole lot of programs within it, right? It runs a whole lot of programs. And how it runs these programs is that there are literally a whole lot of small microscopic entities that are forming what looks like a physical body. But when you go deep into it using tools that quantum physics provides, you are able to literally see that the human being that looks like the body that looks like a solid entity is literally a compilation of a whole lot of small little intelligences that are existing and living in a sort of like a community, and that community creates that shape that is you. They are cooperating. There's a whole ecosystem that's going on there. They are literally just working together to create you. They are working together to create this, self-healing mechanism where if there's something wrong at any part of the body, they'll be sending, energy that side. They'll be sending a whole lot of resources that side to be able to do. They are constantly in communication with each other and in collaboration with each other. These little intelligences that create what looks like the human being, the body of a human being. So that's just how amazing, the human being is. I mean, it's one of the most divine creations that God has ever created. And so we are also connected to life and each other. We are designed to live in harmony and in resonance with our environment. So the human body has every single aspect of the world, of the cosmos within it. The human body has aspects of the mineral kingdom, as I said, the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom. And so we are connected to these things. So the earth that we are living in, we are connected to it as well. We are connected to our surrounding environment. We are connected to every single thing that exists around us, especially that is natural in nature. We are connected to it. And so there is the language of vibrational frequency that the cosmos speaks, that life speaks. And we are part of the cosmos. We are part of life. We too speak that language of vibration. And what that is, it can easily be referred to as that humming sound, right? And so we are singing a tune as the cosmic bodies that we are. We are singing a tune, and that tune should be or is designed to be in harmony with our surrounding environment. So we are all singing the same tune, basically. Human beings, animals, and like birds, plants, and the soil and the sky, everything. We are designed to be singing the same tune in harmony with each other, in resonance with each other. All right. So that's how we've been designed, because we are that connected with the world, with the earth, with nature, with reality. We are that connected. And then we are also a mirror reflection of the universe and vice versa. I mean, that's just that beautiful one, right? Like this one is big. Okay. So we are literally a microcosm of the macro. We are a mirror image of the universe, like literally. Okay. Literally, I have to repeat that, literally. We are a mirror image of the universe. And when you're looking at it from a three-dimensional perspective, it's going to be very difficult to grasp it, right? You are only able to grasp this thing when you tap into that quantum space, that multidimensional space, that spirit essence or aspect of yourself. And so we are a mirror of the universe, and the universe is the mirror of us. And we are also a mirror of the earth, and the earth is a mirror of us. All right. So we are a mirror of life and of nature. And nature is also a mirror of us. Literally. Like there's no separation from the world around us. And by the world, I'm talking about the earth and nature. Okay, I'm not talking about the overlay that human beings have created over true reality. I'm talking about true reality here. There's no separating us from that one. Okay, to separate ourselves from nature and from life is to do so at our own detriment. We are only doing it to harm ourselves. That's all. That's all. And so when we're looking at the sky, when we're looking at the cosmos, when we're looking at the sun, we're looking at the moon, stars, the clouds, we're looking at, the trees and everything else. We're seeing ourselves. All right. This is all of life is the story of humanity. It's his story or her story or our story. That's our story. And so this story is stored in our DNA. And it is also stored in the planets. It's stored in the trees. It's stored in the soil. It's stored in the minerals. It's stored in the animals as well. It is the same story. It's the same story, and it is our story. And why is it our story? Because our story is really the story of God. That's why it's his story, really. It's the story of the essence of life. All right. And we are part of that essence of life. We are part of that wave of life that descended from the heavens and materialized itself into a physical form or material form. And it, descends and then it ascends back to itself again. So the human being and the human form has God in it, and it's also in God. All right. So we will unpack that as we go along. Let's keep going. So life is a cosmic school. Life is a cosmic school, like, the fish in the sea. We call them a school of fish. And it's like that, because those fish, it will be hundreds of them, for example, and then they'll all be moving in unison, right? Like they'll just be moving one direction, and then at some point they'll know to turn. No one is telling them to turn, but right, they'll automatically know that it's time to turn, and it's time to go up, and it's time to go down, and it's time to do this. They will inherently just know it because there is a wave of consciousness within which they are swimming. And that wave of consciousness is the one that's directing their movement. And the same thing with us as, pardon me, as human beings, right? The same thing with us as human beings. We are moving in a wave of energy. Within that wave of energy, we are moving there. And so we are in this cosmic school of life, and the school is a wave of energy or consciousness. And this school is Christ. And Christ is the Spirit of God or the energy of God. We are in it and it is in us. Or we are in him and he is in us, or in her, and whatever you want to call it. We are swimming in the sea of consciousness. So really who we are is participants in this great wave of God. Okay, that's really who we are. So Christ is the Spirit of God. And through or as Christ, God created a materialized world. Or rather, should we say, God materialized himself into the universe and all living things, including humanity. Literally, God became all these things, right? And that is a process that is, this materialization process where God descends into matter and then returns or ascends back into himself. This process is called an ascension and descension process. It's firstly a descension process because God first descends into matter, becomes matter, and then ascends again, becomes spirit one more time. So we ascend here and then we go back, right? So the importance of understanding this as a human being has to do with understanding how we got here to where we are now, because we are asking that question and, attempting to answer it, right? What happened to humanity? And this is also important as to, how we got here and then how we can get out of here, how we can get back home, how we can get back into the life wave if we've been removed from it. And so we came here as God descending into matter. And we are here now on our journey of returning home back to God. We came here in Him and we can only return in Him. So God is like that train, right? It's like that, that space. But, you don't want to look at it from that perspective because it can be very limiting, right? But it's like, just imagine a wave, a spiritual wave. Like it's like that wind, like wave kind of a thing, right? And so that wave is going up, is going down, is going up, is going down, or is going down and is going up. And that wave is our transport as spirit beings that we are. And so when it goes down, that wave, we become human. And then when it goes up, we become spirit. Right. So it's like when it goes down, we become materialized. So we take on the form of human beings, you understand? And then not only do we take the form of human beings, but we also, have physical planets that we then, are inhabiting. And then there's a time, of course, when it's time for that wave to move, it moves up again. And when that moving up occurs, that's when it's time to let go of the materiality or the matter that we had become. And it's time to now take on spirit, our spirit nature. We basically, lose our density and we become lighter and lighter. And so we go through that phase. All right. And so we can only return in Him, right? We came through Him. I mean, he's the only form of transport, people. Like, it's the only form of transport that exists. I mean, He's all that exists, or it is all that exists. The Christ stream, God, right? That's all there is. There's nothing outside of it. Anything outside of God is distraction, is that dark force, that negative force. And it's called negative because it does not really exist. It's a delusion. It's a lie. It's a deception. That's what it is. It is a darkness. All right. And so He is the wave of high frequency that flows in and around us. He is the Christ, our greatest invisible yet visible and cosmic school of life. All right. And so this descension and ascension cycles happen on great cosmic scales as well as on smaller scales. For example, we've got a global scale. It's still a smaller scale because it's still not reflecting everything is reflecting, all, like every small scale is a reflection of grander scales, but really the global scale is still smaller than the greater cosmic scale, right? So we've got the global scale, which has to do with, for example, the whole planet, a planetary scale. We've got a global scale here in, on the earth, or on earth as human beings. And then there's also a continental scale, there's a national scale, and then there's also individual scales. And there are also, group scales as well, that have to do with a particular maybe soul group or a whole lot of things that have to do with that. So we've got those smaller scales. But even then still, within those scales, you still have this descension and ascension motion. All right. And so when we answer what happened to humanity, we want to look at these cycles of descension and ascension from a global Earth perspective, because we are wanting to answer the question that has to do with Earth, right? And so human beings, of course, are part of the cosmic Earth school of life, which I've just explained now. And so we have free will. As much as we are in this, school of life, and we are moving along with the, the consciousness that drives us, we still have free will. Okay, so unlike fish, we are not, we are actually engaging in a co-creation experience with this Christ force that we are moving through, this consciousness that we are moving in. All right, so we have that free will to choose either to participate in this school of life or to not. So literally, like as the wave is moving, descending and ascending, you have a choice to decide, you know what, I'm not moving, I'm just going to stay here. I'm literally just going to stick around on this particular spot forever. I don't want I don't want to keep going, you know? And so that's the free will that we have as human beings, to stop moving, you know, because the thing is, the movement is always taking place. The movement is always taking place, but you have a choice to be part of it or to, you know, stop participating in it. All right. Of course, not participating in the school will be detrimental to one who chooses so. Okay. But participation is always voluntary. So what happens when we opt out of the school of life? What happens? Well, we are disconnected from our source of power that gives us inner peace, organic joy, love, fulfillment, you know, all these wonderful and good things that human beings are supposed to inherently experience from within, which now seem like far-fetched ideas and just some lofty ideals out there that are just non-existent and unrealistic. These things are the inherent inheritance of humanity as long as they are in the life wave, in the school of consciousness, in the Christ stream. All right. So we lose them when we are disconnected from, you know, the school of life. When we opt out of the school of life, we lose our minds and we become insane. Our perception of reality becomes so distorted that we forget who we are as the drops in the ocean of life. And instead, we begin to see ourselves as separate and vulnerable little egos that have to fight for survival. Remember, the wave of life is what feeds your life. That's what keeps you alive. All right. That's what keeps you, you know, intact and in integrity. Okay. So when you move out of this wave of life, you literally become destitute and desolate somehow. Okay. And so that's why you end up losing your mind. Your perception of reality becomes distorted and you become vulnerable because automatically you just know it. You just know it within yourself that there's something missing within you. You feel it. When you are disconnected from the wave of life, you feel it. You know it. You know that there is something wrong. You just know it. And so depending on, you know, who you are, of course, you know, if you are the kind of person that will look into that and say, okay, fine, how can I get back into that connection? There's something that's missing within me. How can I get back into it? How can I, you know, get back into that state of congruency within myself? You know, when you start asking those questions, eventually the right kind of answers will come and then you will find yourself back into the wave of life again. But unfortunately, there is also that option where instead of asking the question, how can I get back into, you know, connection and congruency, instead of seeing things that way, you might find yourself in a situation where you are so caught up in the ego that you, instead of looking to go back, you just literally want to see how you can survive in the state that you are in. You literally saying, okay, fine, I'm disconnected. I can feel that there's something wrong within me in my heart. Like there's this, you know, emptiness or this weirdness, this disconnection thing that's going on inside me, right? But instead of addressing that and trying to fix it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to see how I can, you know, make people feel bad, you know, so that I can feel better. How I can steal whatever it is that I need in order to be able to feel that connection. Because you are no longer seeing things the right way, right? And so this thing that has happened to you is now tricking you into that state where you are literally saying, I'm okay where I am. You know, this weirdness and disconnection and dissociation that is in my heart, I like it. I like it because at least, you know, the way that I am now, I don't have to feel pain, you know, because I feel a disconnection, right? I'm feeling disconnected from life and other people. So that's good for me, you know, because if I'm this disconnected, then that means I can harm this person and not feel the pain of it. So I can get away with a whole lot of stuff now because I'm disconnected. So I'm going to thrive in this way. I'm going to use this thing to my advantage. But what you're not realizing is that you're only being deceived by your own deception. So that's what happens, right? When we opt out of the school of life. And so we lose connection with each other, we lose empathy, we lose connection, we lose true warmth, the true warmth of the heart. We become cold and cruel in our core. We lose sight of the light and we see only darkness. We become those who run when no one is chasing us. The thing with disconnection is this: when you are disconnected, automatically you also feel that impending doom. You automatically feel that, like there's some vulnerability that you are having, that it feels like, if people can discover the level of vulnerability that you are experiencing, they will definitely maybe destroy you. And the reason for that is because you are no longer yourself. You have become dark, right? So you are no longer part of the light and the life wave. You are part of darkness. So you've been essentially taken over by unconsciousness. And so this unconsciousness is now, living and speaking and doing things through you. And because you are unconsciousness, you have become unconsciousness and darkness, then you are always afraid, because at any moment the light can shine. And when the light shines, it's going to dissolve you and it's going to also expose you. Inherently, you just know it without knowing. It's not like you are thinking, oh, I'm the darkness, I'm trying to run away from the light. You're not thinking that, but that's really, what's going on there at the invisible, aspects of reality. Within yourself, you are running away. You are running away from the light, and you are at war with the light, because you inherently know that the light is here to destroy you. And it's not like the light is, this destroying force that's out to destroy anything. No, the light is just the light. It shines just like the sun shines every day. And you know that, oh snap, when the sun comes, me as the darkness, that's the end. You just know it, right? So that's why, you run and there's no one chasing you. What happens when one opts out of the school of life is that you become a dark personality. You begin to enjoy and find pleasure in evil and causing harm instead of goodness. So you no longer want anything to do with goodness or with light, even though at surface level you might present yourself to be someone of the light, someone that loves the light, someone, you need to pretend that way because of the reasons that I will explain as we go along here. You no longer have a food source, and your true food source is energy. Our true food source as human beings is energy. Our highest form of currency as human beings is energy. So when you are cut off from the life wave, you are cut off from your source of energy supply. And so if you are cut off like this, and you are a dark person that believes that the darkness can work for your favor, then of course you will believe that in order to be able to, get this energy, which is food source, you'll have to steal it. And in order to steal it, you have to deceive people. And what is the best way to be able to deceive people than to convince them that you are the light? Than to convince them that you are the savior of their problems? Than to convince them that you are this wonderful, good and loving and kind person that you are not? Because you need to do this so that people can drop their guard with you, and then you can come in and wreak havoc into their psyches. And you are not even going to care about that, about the harm that you would be causing to them, because to you, you have become darkness. And so any dark thing that occurs, the pain and suffering of others, that is food to you. That is how you feel good, you feel significant, you feel powerful. This is what happens when one opts out of the school of life. You become narcissistic. sociopathic, psychopathic. Oh, you become Machiavellistic, something along those lines. You start working against life. You become unconscious and demonic in nature. You literally become the personification of evil. You become the devil or Lucifer or what Gigi Young or, Theosophy and Anthroposophy calls Ariman. It's just this, is the same dark entity manifesting itself in several different forms. But you become the personification of those things. You become a materialized version of those spirits. You also lose the ability to recognize what you've done and instead see anything and everything outside yourself as the cause of your problems. You become antagonistic, so this is why you will find with a lot of dark personality, and that's the thing with dark personalities. Dark personalities are human beings who have been completely taken over by dark forces, by the unconsciousness of humanity. So this, collective unconsciousness of humanity together, because it does come together and it becomes a being, then that's what's called the devil, right? And then that form can also still materialize literally and become a human being. And when that human being, when that thing becomes a human being, it's not like it just, comes as some cloud somewhere in the sky and goes into someone. No, like a human being gets born that way. They become born as a dark personality. It's like that dark gene is, active within them from get-go. In the same way that with light workers or empaths, they are born with the light gene active within them. So they are born flickering as stars. That's what light workers are born like. They are born, like just flickering the light, right? And then so dark personalities are born literally pathological in nature. And this is the sad part. This hurts, especially for me as an empath. It hurts. I don't want to lie. It hurts, because to think, like, have you ever seen a baby though? Like, have you ever seen a baby? It's the most precious thing in the world. It's the most precious thing in the world because it's still carrying divinity within it. And yet, somehow, we are living in a world whereby that pure little thing will come in already tainted and taken over by darkness. And usually this happens because, the gene of darkness would have been proliferating through generations within the child's family. And so automatically the child, like literally, like the gene is already dominant within them as they become born. That's why sometimes these things, are inherent to certain types of families. There are some families in this world that literally the whole family is a group of dark personalities. Like the whole family is a group of demons, literally. It's because, it operates, both genetically and a whole lot of other invisible ways, right? So, whew. And so then when you're dealing with dark personalities, one of the things that you will note is that these people have this thing about them where they are always the victim of things out there. Let's say, for example, you get into a relationship with a man, because this one is the most popular one, right? You get into a relationship with a man and then, you ask, so what happened in your previous relationship? This is where you'll begin to hear it. Oh, she was so crazy. There was something wrong with her. She was, that bloody bitch. She did this and this and that, and all sorts of things like that, and all sorts of crazy things. I mean, in my lifetime, I've even had people say, yeah, I hate women. And then you're thinking, if someone says, I hate women, what are you doing in a relationship? But these are the energies, these are the entities of, these are people who are not able to look at life from a holistic perspective because they are disconnected from their spirit essence. So they are only operating at a level of mind and body. And so, as long as you are disconnected from spirit, the mind and body will always lie to you. They will always lie to you because they're not meant to be serving as guides to you in that regard. They can only effectively serve you if they are connected to spirit. And so now, if you're disconnected from spirit, of course, you will always see yourself as an innocent victim of the world and of everyone. You are not going to see the co-creation aspect of reality. You're not going to be able to see how that you co-create this reality with the divine. You're not going to look into how it is that you can get back into the life wave so that you can create in harmony with life. Instead, you're going to look at life and you're going to see all these horrible people and things that have done all these horrible and things to you, and you're going to look into how you can make them pay for what they've done. And then you're going to look into how you can find pleasure and joy in causing harm in others. Right. Antagonistic. So being cut off from life, we feel a sense of guilt and shame and self-rejection. But the unwillingness to return to the source deceives us into deceiving others into handing us their own life force without knowing it, of course. So people are literally, a dark personality, how they operate is they get people to hand over their power to them without knowing it. So this is why I'm saying to you that when you are dealing with a dark personality, there you are literally dealing with the devil personified. I'm not even mincing my words about this because I need to be clear about it. And then also a disclaimer there to say, whatever it is that I'm saying now, this is not a license for anyone to start attacking anyone in their lives that they believe to be a dark personality. Because if you attack anything that you believe to be dark, you are only serving a dark agenda yourself. Because our tools, as those that are really here to serve the true light, which is Christ, are different from the tools of darkness. They are very, very different from the tools of darkness. So we are not those people that will go out and be pointing people and say, oh, you are a dark personality. You are so evil, to hell with you. The God condemn you and all sorts of. That's not how we play this thing. That's not what we do. I know a lot of spiritual people who somehow you are lost and deceived and confused and serving a dark agenda and you don't even know it, if that's what you are doing. Because it's not up to us to go out here in the world and try and pinpoint people's errors to them or anything of that nature. We are fighting a completely different battle. So I'm not giving you any license, because if you're going to be doing that, then you don't have that from me. You don't have any green light from me whatsoever to be doing any of that. I am sharing this information not so that I can fuel your unconsciousness and your darkness, but I'm rather sharing this information with you so that you can know that if you are an empath and a light worker, you can be aware of what has happened to humanity, the war that is being waged against you as humanity, and how you can protect yourself in this war. That's all that I'm sharing this with you. That's why I'm sharing this with you, all right? So I want to be clear about that. So these dark personalities, what they do is when they harm other people, deceive, and cause all sorts of horrible things towards other human beings, they always justify what they're doing by saying that the person deserves it because they were stupid. They were stupid enough to fall for the tricks, for the deception. Whenever it is that they harm anyone, they always justify. They always see it as the people deserve what they're getting. And sometimes they even use scripture. For example, apparently there are dark people in this world that believe they are serving the purpose of God, because if darkness exists, then that means God created it. This is what Gigi Young says, and I've witnessed it myself, right? There are people in this world that are fully convinced that they are here to do the work of God, and they believe that their work that they are doing for God is to cause harm on others. So you see that distortion. It's a serious distortion here. And then you get other people who will then, whenever it is that anyone will come to them and, speak of the abuse that they would have received from these dark personalities, then you'll get people, many of them are spiritual practitioners, some of them are people in the, mental health profession. Then they will be saying to a victim of such kind of dark personalities, they'll be saying to them, oh, what did you do to this person? How did you attract such darkness into your life? What is it about you that attracted such darkness into your life? That is victim shaming and blaming. Because before you ever touch on that particular type of a subject, you have to validate the victim. You have to validate what they have experienced. But of course, you cannot validate what you don't know or understand, can you? This is why I pray as often as I can for the empaths and the light workers in this world, because I understand very well that they are the targets of this kind of people, because they've got energy, they generate energy within themselves. And so most of the time, whenever it is that you are dealing with a dark personality, what you will notice is that there are several empaths in their life that they are leeching off of. Because dark personalities will always target light workers and empaths. They will always target empaths, people who have emotion, people who have energy, people who have feelings, people who are sensitive, people who are inherently good. They will target them and they will mine them of their energy. And how they do it, of course, is in invisible ways. So you will not be able to prove it on a physical level. That's the level of darkness that we are dealing with. This is why, and this is what has happened to humanity. This is why we are where we are. Okay. So realizing, I'm still referring here to, what happens to a person when they opt out of the school of life. So realizing their ability to trick others and humanity's naivety to its tricks, this dark personality will begin to deem itself as God over humanity. You've heard me say that when we look at the divine, we see ourselves, and that's why we are able to say, I am that I am, and then of course, dark personalities will hear something like this and it will begin to rattle their cages and all sorts of things like that. And of course, they'll want to call me Luciferian. Meanwhile, they know that they themselves are Luciferian, because there is a divine truth that pertains to our oneness with God that we need to step into as humanity if we are ever to fight this battle effectively at all. And yet on the other side, there's this other distortion of this truth, because understand this, the dark forces of life always take what is good and pervert it. And so now, dark personalities will literally, look at everything, and then they can even take, the words of someone like myself and then twist it to say that they are God. And then so how the difference there that you will notice between a true light worker understanding their oneness with the divine and a dark personality is that the dark personalities deems themselves as God over other human beings. They deem themselves as God of this world. They deem themselves as God apart from God. Do you understand? It's like whatever, because let's face it, we are all gods, because Christ is King of Kings, Lord of Lords. He's God of gods. Like we are from God. So being from God and created by God, that makes us gods, and that's what Jesus Christ said. We are children of divinity. So we are divine in our nature. That's what makes us gods. But being gods as we are only that as long as we are in Him. You understand? So we are still that drops within the ocean. So we are nothing without him. We are nothing outside of him, which is God. We are nothing outside of God. So there's nothing that we can be or even say of ourselves apart from God. But dark personalities, everything that they say, even if they can tell you that, I am in God and all of those things, but in their hearts, they just know that how they see things is that they are God. They are bigger than God. They are smarter than God. They don't even believe that God exists even. It's like at some point, because there are so many distortions to this whole darkness, right? At some point, they don't believe that God exists. At some point, they believe that they are serving the purpose of God if God exists. And they are serving the purpose of God by causing harm to humanity. All right. So there are those thin lines that can easily be perverted, and that's the thing that we are really dealing with as human beings here, right? We are dealing with a situation whereby darkness has, hijacked what is good in life and distorted it. And with that distortion comes now this ability to be able to persecute and attack true light workers. So the false light has been waging war against true light workers for a very long time. And then how it wages this war, it does it from a psychological perspective, of course. It does it in such a way that it literally, it uses anything that is good and twists it and perverts it a little bit, and then paints those that are here to do what is good as people who are here to do evil. So now you find that throughout history, and that's the same thing that even happened with Jesus Christ, throughout history, humanity has been persecuting good people, empaths, light workers, those that are here to help them. They've been persecuting them and killing them, believing that these people are evil, simply because humanity has been operating under the clutches and the mesmerism and hypnosis of dark personalities in the world. All right. So these dark personalities begin to believe that they have the right and authority to direct the course of human affairs as they deem it fit, despite the harm this causes to humanity. They begin to deliberately cause harm to humanity because it feeds their insatiable hunger for suffering and darkness in the world. They begin to present themselves as saviors of humanity whilst they destroy humanity behind the scenes. They begin to engage humanity in a psychological warfare that should never, ever be discovered or proven, so that humanity can remain in a broken and wounded state whilst they feed off of its suffering. They proliferate their genes and ideas, because these are the type of people that will go all around the world and rape people, rape women all over the place. They will lie to women and deceive them, impregnate them and run away, and just plant children all over the world. And I mean, hey, this thing has been proliferating itself like nobody's business. Okay, so that majority of human beings are either under the oppression and the mind control of dark personalities, or they themselves are dark personalities. All right, so this is the grid that they have been building all this time, and they've built it now. And that's why now, literally, you've got a lot of dark personalities in the world than there's ever been in any time in history. Okay, and then understand they also have this grid that they can build, and they are constantly building it. We are all constantly building some kind of a grid, right? So the dark personalities in the world today, they have a grid that they have constructed from an energetic perspective. They don't even have to consciously, do it or anything like that. It just happens naturally, right? And the grid is the grid that supports darkness, right? It's the grid that literally holds humanity in this dark matrix. That's that grid. So they collaborate And so even, a lot of people will say, oh no, dark personalities don't like each other and all of that. No, that's not true. They actually they like each other, they respect each other, and they collaborate. Okay, they work together to, push negative agendas in the world. Okay, so they create a grid that holds humanity within its grip. And so how this grid is empowered and strengthened is by the ignorance and passivity of those who are good within humanity, and the acquiescence of those people as well. So when they acquiesce and they just basically surrender, capitulate to all sorts of horrible things, then this is what empowers this dark grid that has been holding humanity hostage all this time. And so what they've done is they've built this grid, they've proliferated, they've also distorted the ideologies of society, right? So they've caused society to lower down in its frequency, humanity to become so lowered in its vibrational frequency, so that all sorts of horrible things that should never be accepted have become accepted, have become normal. For example, it's normal now to have corrupt governments. It's normal to have corruption everywhere in every part of society. It's normal for people to be aggressive, manipulative, cruel, cold, horrible, evil, violent. All sorts of horrible things have become normal right now. To be selfish, to be greedy, to be overly sexual, to be just basically insanity has become normal right now in this world. All right. And that's because of the grid that the dark personalities have created in the world. Understand this, the dark personalities operate, with the intelligence of the mind. And understand the mind is very intelligent. It's very, very, it's just not intelligent, more intelligent than God, but it's very intelligent. And so they know that, once again, like I said, they know that, there's some kind of an impending doom that, they are bound to deal with. And so from get-go, as soon as they touch the ground, they very quickly strategically start forming, groups amongst themselves, cliques and all sorts of things like that. And then they start, grabbing whatever part of society that they are involved with in a very dark grip. Okay. And so they like I said, they also distort the ideologies of humanity, so that humanity, whenever it is that it tries to fight darkness, without knowing it, humanity ends up fighting itself. For example, they've infiltrated, what is sacred and holy, which is religion and spirituality. They've infiltrated it and distorted it to the extent that you've got dark personalities in most instances in positions of, authority in spiritual groups, in church, in, wherever it is that you go to pray or to commune with other spiritual people. Half the time there you'll find a lot of dark personalities, and you'll be wondering, why is it that, the kind of breakthrough that needs to take place within a spiritual setting is not occurring? And what you would not be realizing is that there you've got dark personalities, and they are, not giving you the true gospel, but they're giving you a distorted version of the gospel that keeps you in a powerless, hopeless, and helpless state, in a very low vibrational frequency, so that you can, continue to be a good food source for them. All right. So that's what we are dealing with here. And this is what has happened to humanity. This is what happens when we opt out of the school of life. Okay. So I really hope that this is, beginning to ring some bells in your head, switch on some light bulbs in your head, because chances are, if you are listening to this, you've dealt with this at some point in your life. You have observed this, and asked yourself this kind of questions also in your life. You have wondered about this kind of things as well in your own life as you have been, going through this journey. And so when dissension phases reach their darkest peak, humanity finds itself engrossed in what is called a dark age, where its own unconscious aspects show up to tempt it into destruction or into self-destruction. It does exactly what it did to Jesus Christ. It offers you power and fame and control in exchange for your soul. So many human beings have fallen prey to this because dark ages are very difficult. Dark ages are very, very difficult. So many people will fall prey into this thing where it's like, okay, if I can just get power and fame and all sorts of things like that, it doesn't matter what happens to my soul. Like it's okay. I can be dark. I can be evil. It doesn't matter who suffers as long as I can get my own. I don't care what happens to anyone else. That kind of a thing. So half the time when it happens, it always looks like, oh, it's just nothing, just living my life, whatever, not doing whatever to anyone, whatever it is that a person may be thinking. But the reality from a spiritual perspective is that what would be happening at that point in time is they would be selling their soul to darkness. And then they would be giving the devil literally authority over their life. And then they would also be giving the devil the right to take over their bodies and just use them as a host. Okay. So over the past few thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years, the situation has been taking place where more and more human beings have been failing the initiation, because this is what this is, right? So this, school, this cosmic school of life that we are in, where the wave of Christ descends and, descends into matter and ascends back into spirit. Every step in that process is an initiation. All right. So every step in the process is an initiation. And in order to go to the next step, you always have to pass an initiation, and if you fail the initiation, you get stuck on that level until you pass the initiation. But the problem is, as long as you are stuck, chances are you are moving further and further and further and further away from the light. And it's becoming more and more and more difficult to find your way back because you are getting more and more and more lost in deception. All right. And so when you fail the initiation, what happens is you join the dark side of life and become a dark personality who has, given you've of course been given the power to succeed. I don't know if you noticed, in this world that we are living in, dark personalities are the ones that are successful more so than other people. And even the good people, in our society that have ever risen up in, positions of power and all of that, many of them, they get killed, of course. Or some horrible thing just happens to them, or some scandal will just pop up that is orchestrated to just take them out of the spotlight. Some horrible thing like that will happen because the reality is that, the dark forces of, our own collective unconsciousness, which is the devil, have taken over, because we are at that densest, point in our school of life, right? We are at that densest point. That's why now you don't have to, imagine the devil as some kind of an invisible spirit out there far away. But literally, the devil is passing down the road every day. The devil is at the store. The devil is in the house with you. Because it's a human being. The devil has materialized. So in the same way that, the Spirit of God has materialized in us, through us as human beings, the devil has also materialized as those human beings that are fully unconscious, completely unconscious, and serving a dark agenda. Understand this. When a person is dark in nature, they are not seeing life the same way that you see life as a good person. All right. So they are not thinking about harmony. As good people, there's this thing where when someone starts malfunctioning and misbehaving, you're thinking this person must be hurt, right? This person must be, broken, and they must be very sad to be doing what they're doing. So maybe if they feel some love, if they get a taste of what it means to be loved, then this person will start behaving right. This person will start being a good person, okay? And then what you will soon realize is if you do this with dark personalities, all that will happen is that this person will become empowered and they will start to be radiant, but they will start attacking you. Okay. They will start attacking you. They will just be mean towards you. And then also you will notice that as they become powerful and radiant and all of this thing, because you've given them love, what will happen is you will start to disintegrate yourself. You will start to fall apart and all of that. Why does that happen? Because you are not operating at the same wavelength. You are not operating under the same rules. Chances are this person, the reason why they are misbehaving in your presence is because they are trying to steal your energy. And you are thinking, oh, let me just give them this energy to help them. You're not realizing that you are actually falling prey to their trap, the snare of the fowler. So that's what this is. And so they are not operating in they are literally not here to bring love in the world. All right. They're not here about love. They're not here about joy, about harmony, about peace, about all. I don't care what, do good association or institution or church or spiritual group or organization that this person would be part of. As long as they are a dark personality, they are there to cause the opposite of what they may be purporting to be doing. They are there to cause chaos. And half the time they need to be in those things that are deemed to be things that humanity believe in. You understand? Because that's how they get energy. So they are always in those groups that look like we are the ones that are here to help. We are the ones that are here to do good and all of that. But understand this, they're not thinking the same way that you are thinking. They don't see things the way that you see them. They feed off darkness. They feed off pain and suffering. So when you have a dark personality in your life, understand this, especially if you're an empath. They want you to suffer. They need you to suffer. They need you to fall apart. They need you to disintegrate. That's what feeds them. And they also maybe need you to be begging them for whatever it is that you might end up having to beg them for. They love that. Okay. So that's why, many of them, they are bosses. They've got businesses, or they half the time if they have businesses, they've just been vampiring off of a whole lot of people to be able to bring their businesses to whatever great state that it might be in. Half the time there's some empath somewhere that is carrying the whole load on their shoulder. Even in government institutions, you've got a lot of these dark personalities there. And then everything is falling apart, and you wonder why it's falling apart. It's because you've got vampires there. You've got leeches there. Bloodsuckers that are sucking the life out of, the country, the resources of the country and all of that, right? And then not only are they doing that, but there's some light worker in that space that, is the one that's carrying the whole load. And usually that light worker is the one that always gets blamed for things that are going wrong in that organization. And then the same thing in relationships as well. The same thing happens. Okay, so this is a thing. Okay, so we have been proliferated, if we should put it that way, right, as human beings by these dark unconscious aspects of reality. And these dark unconscious aspects of reality called the devil are human beings, everyday human beings that we are dealing with in our everyday life. All right. And so if you are an empath, they are out to get you, of course. And this is not for you to be afraid, but this is for you to know the kind of battle that you are engaged in, because, knowledge is power. Truth is what sets you free. All right. So that's why I don't have to convince you, if you're an empath, about any of these things that I'm sharing with you now, because you know it. Truth is truth. Truth is always able to confirm itself. Okay. I don't have to convince you about it. And that's why I'm not in the business of entertaining anyone that's going to come here and try and tell me some story about how that, whatever it is that I'm sharing is bullshit, because that person themselves, they'll just be exposing who they are, because at the end of the day, this kind of information, it's cosmic truths. So cosmic truths are truths that human beings as cosmic beings inherently know within themselves. All right. Just like the dark forces in our lives, they inherently know everything. They know who you are as an empath. They know, all the buttons that they need to press with you and all sorts of things like that. So the difference between you and the dark forces in your life is that the dark forces are being empowered by this dark grid that has been existing here, and you have been disempowered by, you know, the distortions of reality that you've been living in for as long as you've been alive, chances are. Those distortions that have told you lies about who God is, who Jesus Christ is, for example. Jesus Christ has become some, a patented entity that is exclusive to some religious institutions. And even then still, who he is in his true nature has been distorted. And what he really came here to do has been distorted, because Jesus Christ came here to teach us empathy, to reveal empathy to us, to model empathy to us, to show us the power of empathy. Because the only connection that we have to God is that empathy, which humanity spits on right now, and calls, you are so sensitive, too sensitive, you make a big fuss about everything. You know, nowadays there are even people who make jokes about empaths being narcissistic. Those are those distortions. I mean, didn't they say Jesus Christ was, you know, an evil person? So you've got that situation where things have been so distorted that those that are here to do, you know, the work of God, that those that are here to really, you know, spread the real light, which is love, compassion, empathy, humanity, kindness, those that are here to do that, you know, they find themselves powerless and helpless, because half the time, if you're an empath, chances are you are always fighting something in your life, and you're not understanding why is it that you're always fighting something in your life. It's either that relationship that keeps going wrong, or that work situation that always keeps going wrong, or that financial situation that always keeps going wrong, or there's something that always keeps going wrong in your life. You're not understanding why is it that, because you are under attack. Because the dark forces of life, which is human beings, of course, they know who you are. And so they are sending negative energies your way. Because understand this, I'll explain that just now. So let me just keep going here, and then I will unpack all of that. So let's see what's causing chaos in the world. So right now in the world, majority of those who are in power and are running the show are dark personalities serving the purpose of a psychological warfare against humanity. You know, someone once said to me, oh no, I know a lot of narcissists that are, you know, successful businessmen and women that have started great businesses, and people have jobs now and all of those things because of these dark personalities. And I'm thinking, there's that distortion once again. That's that thing, you know, because these people have placed themselves in such, you know, key and strategic positions so that you cannot fault them. You cannot fault them for anything, because if you start saying negative against, you know, certain people in society, you are cutting, you know, you are spitting on the hand that's feeding you, isn't it? And they knew and understood why it is that they had to put themselves in those positions, because they have to be indispensable somehow. Because if they are not indispensable, then of course, when you see them for who they really are, it's going to be an easy call for you to make, to say, we're chopping this off. You know, we're ending this association. We're ending this energy feed stream. Because a lot of, you know, institutions and organizations and things in our society, you know, this a beautiful society that, you know, we have originally created for ourselves before things got to this point, has now been distorted, right? Has been distorted. And by beautiful things that we created for ourselves, I'm talking about something that we created hundreds of thousands, you know, of years ago, if not just thousands of years ago. So I'm not talking about something that we've just done recently. All right. So all of that has been hijacked and taken over, and is now being used for negative reasons. Now, you know, for example, you know, a lot of places where human beings go to, they are not just places where human beings are just going to. They are energy mining centers. A lot of places where a lot of human beings just flock to. They are energy mining centers. That's what they are. So you go into that place just for your energy to be zapped out of you. And when you come out of it, you've got no energy left anymore. This could be church. This could be school. This could be work. This could be anywhere. Okay. That's why I will always say to, human beings, and our greatest ally is nature. Our greatest ally is nature. There are stories right now that are making their rounds about the fact that we live in a holographic universe. Yes, it is holographic in nature. But then there's also this other one that, tells us that we have been taken into some kind of a simulation of the dark matrix, right? And then so everything around us is not real. There's something about that. There's something about that is a distortion. Okay, we are still engaging with true nature. When it comes to nature, we are still engaging with something that is connected to the life force and the stream of life. Okay. And of course, eventually this dark force of life wants to, destroy nature because it understands what nature is. But we still have nature right now that is still our ally as empaths, that we can lean on. All right. For our connection with, that stream of life. That's why nature is cleansing in its nature, right? Nature is cleansing. Nature is life-giving. Nature is empowering. Nature is part of the light itself. All right. So we still have that. We still have that in our favor. So these people have taken over, everything, and they are waging a psychological warfare. And this is why, despite all our technological advancement, suicide rates have increased, mental health issues have increased, poverty and suffering have increased. There's still no end in sight for this endless wars. Why is this happening? Because the dark personalities in our society need these things to happen. And understand this, the dark personalities in our society are not just those in power, they are everywhere. Not only are these dark personalities in government, major corporations, but they're also in religion. You just think about the Pharisees, right? The Pharisees were in religion, but the Pharisees were actually, manifestations of the devil. They were demons, they were devils themselves. This is why Jesus Christ called them vipers and told them that, you are sons of your father, the devil. Because this is what they were. But where were they? In church. What positions were holding? Positions of prestige, of course. Positions of authority. These are the people that you can only listen to them. You should never listen to any. There's that thing that keeps going on in this world, even today. There are certain types of people, even, because now this thing has proliferated itself beyond religion, right? So it's everywhere. You've got these people who apparently have the wherewithal to tell people how they should live their lives, and they should be listened to because of whatever position that they occupy in society. So just because they occupy whatever position in society, somehow they believe they have the authority and right to determine how a sovereign being, as a human being, should be living their lives. And this is where you can see it, even in religion, how it rears its ugly head, is when you get those so-called, spiritual or religious people coming in and, telling you that, whatever it is that you are believing for yourself, you are wrong. You should, do what we do because that's the right one. And that's when you will find such kind of people coming over to my channel. I don't even have 100 subscribers, people. And then you get this person who will come in and believe that it's their divine right and authority to come in and correct me. Like, how dare you come into a person's house and think that you can tell them how they should live their lives? How dare you think you can tell an adult how they should live their lives? Of course, we've been mandated to preach the gospel, but we also have, a thing called respect, and respecting and honoring the dignity and sovereignty of human beings. So you cannot come into a person's house and tell them how they should live their lives. And you have no right or authority to be judging another person for how they live their life, because you are not their God. The minute you think you can tell a person how they should live their life, you are usurping the position of God in their lives. You think you know better for that person's life. Who's deceived here? Because a person can be very well deceived about their own lives. That's fine, as long as it's their life that they are practicing the deception on. But the minute you want to take that deception that you are dealing with in your life and think that you have the right to go over to someone else's house and tell them that how they're living their life is wrong and they should be following your advice on how they should be living their life, I don't know. I don't know about that one. Okay. So there's that dark force that thinks that it can tell humanity how human beings should be living their lives right now. I'm not saying I'm condoning anything in the world. And I'm not saying when things are whatever it is that they are, we should not, see them for what they are. But the point is, no one has a right to tell another human being how they should live their lives. That's my point here. Even light workers, even angels, even guides, they're not going to override your free will. They're not going to be forcing you to do or coercing you or guilt tripping and shaming you into doing anything that they believe is best for you. No one is going to be doing, because they respect free will. But the dark forces of life do not respect free will. That's why they think, they are in that position to be telling you what it is that you should or should be doing, how you should and shouldn't be worshiping God, how you should and shouldn't be connecting to the divine essence within yourself. And so this is why in these days, when you are doing spiritual work, you want people to come to you instead of you going to them. You want people to come to you. And then even then still, you still respect free will. You only share with people what you know. And then you give them that freedom to decide what they do with the information that you are sharing with them without you, inserting your agenda into their lives. But anyway, of course, this makes sense to empaths and normal human beings, right? This will not make sense to dark personalities. Okay. So, and then we have the entire societal system, right, which has been infiltrated and distorted to turn humanity against itself. A societal system that creates millions and billions of unaware soldiers of the matrix who hold each other hostage in the prison of unconsciousness. Let's give a nice example. I'm a single woman right now in my life, loving it, loving it. There's no one bugging me about anything, okay? No one is bugging me about anything. I'm loving it. But then there are people in this world who will make it their mission to try and convince me that I need to have a child. Because they are not aware that their own unconsciousness, in their own unconsciousness, they are serving a mission, an agenda that is dark. Because they have been convinced that the only way as a woman you can find significance is if you have a child. And so if you don't have a child, then there's something wrong with you. They have been hypnotized into a distortion of reality. It doesn't matter what I could be here to do. It doesn't matter how important it is for me to do what I'm here to do, perhaps even without having children, perhaps without even being in a relationship. That's not important to them, because all that they know is that if you are a woman, you should be in a relationship. You should have children. You should live your life like this. You should be this. You should do that. You should be that. You should do. You understand? Those should that comes from this societal indoctrination about how people should be. Then human beings are serving as soldiers in a very, very dark army of the matrix. All right. And in my assessment, at least 1 or 2 out of every 5 people that you will engage with in this world is actually a dark personality. Isn't that sad though? That's very sad. But that's reality, because this thing is an epidemic. This is the true pandemic. Make no mistake about it. You know, this could be your blood relative, right? Your lover, your friend, your colleague, your pastor, your guru, your employer, your employee, anyone. They are everywhere. They are the materialization of the devil. Literally, this is the zombie apocalypse that we are living in. Okay. We are living in the age of vampirism, because true vampirism is really energy vampirism. So we've got dark personalities that are out to get your energy. You know how in the game it will be like zombies are out to get your brains, brains, brains. No. What they are really out to get is your energy. Okay, and they are there and they are looking for it every day. They wake up every day, they bath, and they are in a hurry to go out there to do what? Evil. Looks like they're going to work. No, they're going to mine energy from you. Okay. And so we've got that zombie apocalypse and vampirism. This is what it is. Okay. And then so now, over and above all of this, there's also the aspect of both spiritual and artificial technology, where these dark personalities use against humanity. All right. So understand this: black magic is no joke. They're using it. All right. They are using it, and it has nothing to do with race. Please be clear about this. It has not. You could be black or white or green or whatever. If you're a dark personality, most of them, and the thing is, they don't even need to use black magic, but they do use black magic. Many of them use black magic. They use black magic. And then not only do they use black magic, but they also use technology. Because remember, many of them are in positions of power. They own these organizations and all of those things. So they use technology. That's why technology is the way it is that we are dealing with right now. Understand this: there is true and free technology, which is very organic and spiritual in nature, that exists, that we have never even heard of, right? Many of us. Because it's important for the dark forces that are in control of our, so-called reality, or our society, that have hijacked our world. It's important for them to keep us in a very low vibrational frequency state of being, because we are a food source to them. So they need us to be using technology that disconnects us, and it fiddles with our resonance with life. And so what they've done is they fiddled with the vibrational frequency of the earth, and they fiddled with our own vibrational frequency. Okay. So all these, electronic grids that are happening all over the world, to the most part, they emit, they bring about that a distorted sound, a distorted harmonic, a distorted vibration in comparison to the true vibration that's supposed to be there of the earth. And so they do this through music. There's a certain, vibrational frequency that music can be set to, so that it vibrates in resonance with the earth. They fiddled with that one. They fiddled with the general harmonic, even of the human being, with all sorts of things that have been introduced, chemicals and all sorts of horrible things that have been introduced. And then there's all sorts of things that are also being fiddled with in the atmosphere. And the food that we eat has been tampered with. And the water that we drink has been tampered with. Like, everything has been tampered with to keep humanity in a low vibrational frequency state. All right. But we are the divine human spirit. We are part of the Christ wave. We are part of the stream of life. And so we are beyond the body and the mind. And this is something that we have to our advantage. All right. So without causing alarm, I'm sure I've already caused some alarm. I'm nonetheless asking you to be aware that dark personalities are everywhere and they are prowling about like lions seeking whom to devour. Why are they doing this? Because they've been disconnected from the school of life and they've been taken over by their own minds and bodies. You know, the devil in human form, right, is literally a human being who's disconnected from God, from spirit, from source, from energy, you know, from the Christ stream. A human being who submits to his own mind and body without the intervention of spirit. A human being that is the personification of the devil. They cannot sustain themselves without stealing energy. They are energy vampires. And so they need humanity as a food source for their own survival. And the only way they can feed on humanity is at a low frequency state. So they need to, you know, reduce you. That's why when you're dealing with dark personalities, the first things that they do when you encounter them is they start to terraform your reality. They start to rearrange your reality with small little things by making some little comments, you know, and some little insults, minor insults that look like jokes, and their behavior that just doesn't make sense, that doesn't add up, you know. They destabilize your sanity and your mind, right? They destabilize you. They do it gradually and just subtly and just gently, because you know they're very sneaky. You know, dark personalities are literally like that. I don't know how can, you know, but they are very sneaky, very, very sneaky, and they are master illusionists. So they are very hypnotic in nature. So half the time when you are around dark personalities, that's why you feel a little bit drained. You might even feel a little bit sleepy, you know, and you just, there's some kind of discord that takes place within you when you are around dark personality. Even if they can be charismatic and all of those things, there will always be something within you that falls out of balance, because they need to terraform your reality so that it can be the kind of reality that, you know, accommodates them, because they cannot stand high vibrational frequencies. Understand this. They cannot survive in a high vibrational frequency state or environment. They need to get the high vibrational environment, you know, broken down and destroyed. That's why they need to bring humanity into a very low vibrational frequency state. Okay. So to do this, they wage a psychological war against humanity. So this word psychological war is important, you know, this phrase, because it is invisible and it cannot easily be proven. Okay. It is a spiritual war. Okay, so they also attack invisibly, of course. They attack human beings who are sent here to help humanity, you know, to break free from the mental prison they've created. Okay, so they attack anything that threatens to dissolve or expose them, you know. So that's why this will be anyone and anything in your life, right? Anyone and anything in your life that is dark, they will just attack you if you are a person of the light. And you'll be wondering, why are these people attacking me? Why is this thing happening to me? You are not going to understand that whatever battle that most always appears to be the one that you are waging on a surface level is not the one that you are really waging. There's a different war that you're actually fighting. You're not waging any war, you know, because chances are you are the one that's under attack. But the attack that's on the surface is a different one from the one that's really happening underneath the surface. All right. So this is what has happened to humanity, and what happens when humanity becomes dark. Okay. Its own unconscious aspects become its own God. You know, this God, dark God that's power hungry and out for destruction. So for those that are still in the wavelength of life, in the wave of life, right? Those that are still in the Christ stream, those that still have empathy and are still in the school of life. Okay. What do I have to say to those? I say to you, know who you are. Okay. Know that you are being invisibly attacked. So you know who you are. If you still have empathy, know that you are the light because you are part of the Christ stream, and know that you are under attack. Okay. Know that you have to work out your salvation with fear and trembling, you know, because you are being hunted and mined for energy. Okay. So many empaths all over the world have been killed and, you know, they've been hunted, attacked, and killed by these dark forces. Because, and the sad part is that it happens, it's in such an invisible way that it's like, yeah, that's why right now empaths are a minority. Okay, but we've got another generation that's popping up right now that's here to add to the number. The thing is, this any war against the light is always going to be lost, people. Like, the war against the light will always be lost. So our enemy is already lost. It doesn't matter how elaborate its strategies are. It is already lost because we are in God. I mean, like, who can win any war against God? Like, anyway. So half the time, the war that you're fighting, remember, it's psychological, it's spiritual. Okay, it has to do with distortions of reality, distortions of perceptions, distortions of your experiences. You understand? Distortions and illusions and deceptions. That's what you are dealing with. So to protect yourself. So by the way, working out your salvation with fear and trembling, that just means working out your own protection, your own psychic protection diligently. That's what it means. All right. So, and how you do this, of course, you pray. You pray, you want to, always be in prayer. You remember Jesus Christ, remember the works of Jesus Christ, remember the words of Jesus Christ. Okay. And, declare those psalms on yourself. The Lord is your shepherd. All right. And the Lord is the shepherd over your soul, and wear that helmet of salvation, knowing that Christ is your salvation. You understand? So you do that. You engage in prayerful and meditative sessions that reinforce the power of God in your life. All right. And then, you practice psychic protection, and if you're not a Christian, for example, and you've got your sages, you've got all sorts of things that you apply, all sorts of spiritual tools, and maybe other forms of psychic protection, decrees and declarations and all sorts of things. Like, apply those things. Okay, apply whatever it is that is necessary, whatever it is that your guides show you, whatever it is that your guides lead you to. Apply those things. Okay, so don't fall into the trap of, no, just because you're not this so-called born-again Christian people, part of some kind of institution, and then you think that you're not part of the Christ stream or the life wave. That's a lie. Okay, you don't have to be part of an institution. If you're in an institution, that's okay. But if you're not part of an institution, and if you're not that type of a Christian, that you are still part of the Christ stream, because the Christ stream has nothing to do with this superficial stuff that people have made it out to be. Okay, the Christ stream has to do with everything that is in the heart. All right. So you practice psychic protection. For example, if you are still in communication and in contact with your ancestors, don't break that communication. Whatever it is that you are still doing, whatever it is that you do that is spiritual in nature, that is there to protect you, you continue to do it. As long as it's something that your guides have led you to, you do that. All right. So you don't rely on human beings to affirm or validate whatever it is that you are doing. You depend on that Christ stream within you. Okay. And then it always confirms itself, by the way. It always confirms itself. Okay, so don't be afraid of human beings. Know who God is. Boundaries. So you create boundaries around what you allow and tolerate in your life. Okay, so there are many things in this world that seem innocent but are not. And then there's also forgiveness. So you want to practice forgiveness, the spiritual art or science of forgiveness. You want to forgive every thought. You want to forgive every emotion. When you are doing this, you are cleansing. It's a psychic cleansing process. Okay, so you can literally, declare that you forgive anything, any thought and any emotion every day, throughout the day, the whole day. In your mind, you can even say it under your breath, or you can even say it outright. Okay, I forgive every thought, I forgive every emotion. Forgive everything. While you are doing this, you are dismantling any negative force that is in your life. Because understand this, for any dark force to be able to operate in your life, it needs some kind of a foothold within you. It needs some kind of darkness to be existing within you. And so if that darkness exists within you, even if it's a small one, what happens is other dark forces out there, because it's like a little demon inside you. So it invites other bigger and powerful forces out there to come and take you over. So when you practice the art of forgiveness, or the science, the spiritual science and the spiritual technology of forgiveness, what you are doing is you are clearing this little dark thing that might, be within your psyche, so that it has no foothold, none whatsoever. And then, you are making the space to be holy. All right. So that then there's no room for this dark. So then you are also removing any negative energies that you might be harboring within yourself. Okay. Through forgiveness, very powerful. And then you remain in Christ. Okay. You remain in the life wave of God. Okay. So this is not about being perfect or, ticking some kind of superficial boxes, right? But this is rather about being pure in your heart and in your intentions. Okay, so you will be saying a lot of no's. Make no mistake about this. Going forward, you'll be saying a lot of no's. A lot of invitations, you'll be saying no to them. A lot of, engagements, a lot of conversations, a lot of activities, you'll be saying no to them. You're not going to be participating in a lot of things that you've been participating in before. Okay, and a lot of people might even try to guilt trip you, or to shame you, or to try to deceive you into participating in things that you no longer feel comfortable participating in anymore. So that's why it's important to understand this, that you are not necessarily going to come out looking like this nice, lovely, wonderful person. To the most part, you are probably going to come out as the bitch, or you're going to come out as this, jerk of a person. That's how people are going to paint you out when you start to assert your boundaries and saying no, and starting to preserve and, be protective about the light that you carry. Starting to, apply responsible stewardship of the light in your life. All right. You're going to be saying a lot of no. You're going to basically just not taking bullshit anymore. That's what you're going to be doing. And there's going to be some price that you're going to be paying. And then when you find yourself paying that price, that the aim of that phase in your life will always be meant to make you feel like you were wrong in asserting your boundaries. Okay. And then so that's why you will always remain in Christ, knowing that you will always keep going back to the Christ and saying, I'm here and I'm doing only what is right, what I believe is right in my heart, that has to do with me and you. That has to do with our relationship, because this relationship, understand this, it will always be between you and God. It has nothing to do with anyone else. All of us, we are literally supports to each other's journeys, but we are not that significant in each other's journeys like that. Like, you are not that important to my journey. You are only a support. This journey is literally between me and God. Okay, so we are in this together, right? And I'm also not that important in your journey, right? So we are just in this together, but really this journey is between the individual and their own higher self, the Christ. Okay. I know the devil's, demonic, dark personalities, their higher selves are really demons. So because their, thing is the opposite of what it is to, what it is with the light. Okay. So that's also another thing there, but it is what it is. So you are going to withdraw your investment from the darkness as well. Okay. So you're going to withdraw from, things like gossip, like complaining. People will just keep coming to you complaining about a whole lot of things. You're not going to entertain those kind of conversations anymore. All right. You're not going to entertain things that have to do with guilt and shame anymore. You're not going to entertain things that have to do with fear mongering anymore. All right. You're not going to entertain things that have to do with self-effacement anymore. And this is so important, because many a times people think that just because you're on a spiritual path, that means that, you are this, I don't know, this superficially perfect person. Here's the thing. In this world, the distortions that we are really dealing with, there are going to be bills that are sometimes not paid. And none of us are proud for not being able to pay our bills. But that's the reality that we are dealing with in this world. So just because you might have certain things in your life that are not necessarily, hunky-dory, do not allow that to be something that will be used by the dark forces in your life to shame you, to make you feel like you are falling short of the glory of God, to make you feel like you are not right with God. All right. It's a phase that we all go through. It's phases that we all go through in life, where sometimes we fall short of the grace, or whatever it is that you call it. Sometimes there are going to be certain things that
we are not just going to be able to get right, at that point in time. And sometimes there might be things that we are doing in our lives that may not necessarily be considered to be socially acceptable or right or whatever it is that the word is. You understand? But understand this, that it's not what's out there that counts. It's what's inside the heart that counts. Okay. And as long as you still have empathy within you, as long as you can still feel, all right, as long as you can still feel that desire to want to be one with God, to want to bask in the presence of the divine, as long as you still have that within you, you are good, all right, you are okay. And you want to keep fanning that fire of light within you, all right. Stand on the finished works of Christ. Understand this. The battle that we are fighting now has already been won. And every single time when things, when shit hits the fan, literally, you want to keep reminding yourself that Christ has already won this thing for me. Even if I might lose my own little miniature version of the battle, for whatever reason, Christ has already won for me. Christ has already won for me. Let Christ be your shield and your rampart. Let Christ be your fortress, your hiding place. All right. Remember, Christ has already won the battle, and rest in that and say, I'm by faith, I'm literally stepping into and staying and remaining in that victory that Christ has already won for me. Okay. And then remember, at any moment now, anything can happen. Okay. Anything can happen. Literally, any miracle can occur right now that can catapult us into that vibrational frequency where we are set free from the clutches of the matrix. Okay. So when it comes to the liberation, of our souls from this darkness and this dark force that has held humanity captive for so long, understand this. Many human beings have been escaping the clutches of this dark force. Many human beings have been existing outside of the matrix for a very, very long time. You understand? So it's possible to escape the matrix. It's just that such kind of things are not things that we are going to be discussing, even, on this call. Such kind of things are actually things that are not typically discussed. That's why even Jesus Christ was discussing this thing from an allegorical space. It's because, once again, they get distorted by the dark forces of life, and then they get used to trap people. Okay, but know this, know and understand this, that there is the realm of spirit that exists, where we can literally step into that realm and become invisible to the matrix, and become invisible to the dark forces of life, and be beyond their reach. Okay, so, and then for every individual, Spirit or Christ will reveal how that gets to happen for them. Okay, so this doesn't necessarily mean people are, you, like, for example, you have to commit suicide or you have to die or whatever or anything like that. Not necessarily. Okay, but once again, you don't even have to form a picture in your mind as to how that gets to happen. But just know that when it comes to the prison that we've been existing in, it's a mental prison, and it can be, you can be set free from it. In fact, Christ has already set us free from it. All right. Thank you so much for spending time with me on this transmission. I hope I've delivered everything that I needed to deliver here with regards to what happened to humanity, how we got to where we are now. I hope I've covered that as sufficiently as I needed to. Until next time, remember, consciousness is the new frontier. Stay blessed.